Baku, just moments after the final racing at Kota in real F1 gets closed off. We are straight in the hot seat, getting ready to go racing for round number 4 of the Nemesis Online Racing Championship. Here on F1 2018, we are in qualifying, one-shot qualifying, riding on board with a man currently going faster than anyone in the form of Dani Ibn Lahar. What a great effort this will be for him if he's able to beat Nibbler to pole position. You can see just how close the Australian and the Italian are. And then we have Testameister in P3 and Anderson of Dougie Aframan in P4 as well. It looks like a DNF though, however, for Nemesis Racing. But we will see who the first to the line is. And so far, it is Dani Ibn Lahar. He's the furthest ahead. Coming out the final corner now, he'll hope to get the best exit he possibly can. And he will make his run all the way down to the finish line to see if he can claim a pole position ahead of the Ferrari of Nibbler. Can he finally dethrone the Australian from the front row of the grid? Yes, he can. Dani Ibn Lahar takes pole position by a whopping 0.6 of a second ahead of Nibbler. What an absolutely stunning lap from Dani. Absolutely stunning lap by the Italian. He absolutely smashes the ball out of the park, takes pole position for what is going to be for sure a crazy race here in Azerbaijan. Ricardo Lanfranzoni, sorry if I butchered that name, I probably have, says, "Oh Jesus, Baku." Yes, we know how crazy the races at Baku can be, but Dani has put a foot in the right direction on them ultra-soft tyres. Good results for Testameister. Will not want to get out cleanly this time and not get caught up in the action. No Chaza here today to contest him. A good result for Dougie Aframan, lines him up in P4 as well. Great effort from the man in the Sauber. Ragnar lines up P5 for Toro Rosso ahead of Lord Jord. Kevin Jacobs takes to 7th. Van Altanovic H. Murcielago 9th, which is quite low for him. And P10 failing to set 9 was Nemesis Racing. The man, Valerio Campagnari, the reigning IndyCar world champion in NORL. As we get ready to go racing, like I say, it's about 10 minutes since the checkered flag at Circuit of the Americas in real F1. And there's no rest for the wicked as we get ready to go racing here in Baku. As we're just waiting for the drivers to load in and sink into the lobby. We're going to see if we can get up the Nemesis Online Racing website so we can talk about the championship while we are on this formation lap. Because the championship will be beginning to stretch its legs now as we enter round 4. And so far it is Chaza leading the championship by 58 points coming into this race. So he will lose the lead of the championship today for failing to show up. And then it is Nibbler in P2. Surprisingly, it's Anel Tanovic who will line up in P3 for the championship with 40 points. Dani Ibn Lahar, the man you're looking at now, on pole position, lines up in P4 in the standings. He has 32 points. Now, he will easily gain 18 points to match Nibbler today. So the likelihood is, and depending how the racing goes, it will be Nibbler who retakes the lead of the championship today. And Anel Tanovic is going to have one hell of a drive if he wants to keep that lead in the championship. 8 viewers find themselves in the lobby ready to get racing, find themselves watching the NORL race at Azerbaijan. Unfortunately, Galactic Skull 2 could not make the race either today. Dougie Aframan's teammate, I should say. He is in the chat saying, hey, could not make the race for his own issues today. And we'll watch from the sidelines as we get ready for 26 laps on this formation lap. Now, it looks very impressive unless Nibbler just didn't have a very good lap in his quali run. But it looks like Dani has buckets full of pace going into this race. Looks like he's going to have a very good race indeed, but Anderson is still there to pick up the pieces if anything should happen to the top 3. Nemesis Racing, for some reason, did not set a time. Neither did Subaru Ryan, so these two starting at the back of the grid with no time on the board. Dani is a long way ahead, though, and Nibbler has slowed the pack right down, and this means Dani's tyres will cool down massively, and if I was Dani, I would slow right down to wait for this pack. But Nibbler is doing this on purpose. He wants Dani's tyres to be cold by the time they get to turn 1. Dani is so far ahead that all the time he sits still on the grid, his tyres are going to be cold. Nibbler actually gets disqualified from the session, so that has not gone in his favour. Yellow flags in sector 3 already. There's been a bit of bumping and barging back there, but that has been the saving grace for Danny Ibn Lahar. That was a cheeky strategy by Nibbler. It hasn't worked out as he's made contact on the formation lap and been disqualified from the formation lap. So Danny Ibn Lahar and Testermeister take to the grid. Separate that Ferrari and a Renault sandwich. Something Daniel Ricciardo will hope to see is a Renault in first and third next year on the grid. If his dreams will come true, we'll have to see. But in the world of esports right now, it's all about the Nemesis Online Racing League. As we get to ready for 5 red lights in the start of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Here we go, then we get ready for 5 red lights. And away they go. Who gets the better start out of the two? It's very hard to tell from this camera angle, but it looks like Danny's got the job done going into turn 1. Dougie Anderson, good stuff. Dougie Aframang, big contact from Kevin Jacobs in the background, almost wiped out. Lots of carbon fiber confetti in the background. Anderson, Aframan, up the inside of Testermeister going into turn 2, but it's not worked out for him. Still has the inside line if he has the bravery to go up the inside and late break past Testermeister. He will try with all his might. He has the inside line. Who's going to hold it? It's a wide outside line. Testermeister gets the better of Anderson on this occasion. Around the first couple of corners we go as well. We can see Subaru Ryan's made a move on his teammate and now tries to look around the outside of Lord Jord. Nowhere to go with it right now. Ragnar looking to try and get it past his Italian compatriot of Nemesis Racing. Goes all the way around the outside. Nemesis will try a switch back, but he can't because Lord Jord is there. And we have more cars going side by side, and the McLaren of Anel Tanovic trying to make a move on Kevin Jacobs. Nowhere to go with it now, but Kevin Jacobs goes a little bit wide, but that is everything done and dusted for the first round of all the battles that I'm sure we're going to see plenty more times throughout this European Grand Prix. Lord Jord finds himself, wow, Subaru Ryan very close to the limits there, very close to taking himself out of the Grand Prix. That would have been an absolute nightmare for the Red Bull to go out in that fashion so early on in this race. Still looking for a way past for Lord Jord. Still nowhere, no cracks showing in the armour of Lord Jord. But Murcielago Brooks very late, almost makes contact then as we come around the final corners to get ready for some battling, I'm sure, once again down this start-finish straight. Very wide, Ragnar into the wall, very wide, loses a lot of bodywork and will have to pit for a front wing chase. He's lucky to still be in this Grand Prix. Lord Jord will work his way past. A lot of traffic forming in the background as a result of that. Subaru alongside Lord Jord. Can he outbrake him? He has the inside line, but is on the harder compound tyre. Hits the curb and loses out on that. And Ragnar just got a bit too optimistic. Made a big mistake and is almost out of the race. Very lucky to not be out of this race on lap 1. Meanwhile, the battle for Lord Jord and Subaru Ryan is still going 10 to the dozen. Subaru will try to go around the outside of Lord Jord this time and gets the move done before we even have to turn in. Good move by Subaru Ryan. Job done on the Mercedes up into P8. Here you can see Anel Tanovic still trying to chase down Kevin Jacobs, who's found some time on Douglas Anderson. Dougie Aframan. On lap 2 of 26, 24 laps to go. Up the castle section we come, trying to search in any which way he can the time on that car. But meanwhile, the man who's found a lot of time is Nibbler. Found a lot of time of Danny Ibn Lahar and will be in the prime seat to attack the Renault down the straight if he can stay this close. Let's see who gets the better run out of the top two as we head into the Porsche curves-inspired final sector of this track. Very quick. And Nibbler's in a prime position to take the lead here on lap 2 in the slipstream overtake mode. Rich Rebs will look to the inside, and it looks like it's going to be an easy pass for Nibbler, but it looks like the Renault has actually got a little bit of top speed, keeps himself in contention, and will actually manage to survive the attack from the Ferrari. Now the Ferrari looks like it goes a little bit wide. It does. Nowhere past. Anel Tanovic makes his way past Kevin Jacobs as well. Finally gets the move done. There is Nibbler able to sense an opportunity. Down to turn 3, DRS wide open. Of course, DRS was enabled on this lap. First DRS of anybody. Nibbler looking for a way in. Brakes very late, makes contact with Danny, pushes him off the racing line. That was a bit naughty of Nibbler, but gets away with it with no damage. Kevin Jacobs still trying to find a way back. Still looking. No opportunities thus far. Nibbler still absolutely on the limit on the rear of Danny Ibn Lahar, as we get the name messed up, but not one thing that isn't messed up is Nibbler's driving, because he is all over the place. Sorry, Renner doing some driving back there, and that's because he's hit the wall and he's collected Dougie Anderson. Dougie Afroman has been collected, and Testomeister finds himself in an awkward spot. I thought I saw the Renault drifting. I thought I saw the Renault drift out of that corner, and it has all gone horrifically wrong. Now, how much damage did the Sauber sustain? He's lost a chunk of his front wing, and you see the understeer through that corner gives away just how much damage he has, and that Sauber will have to pit with that much damage. Testomeister's run of bad luck continues. 5-second stop go for Subaru Ryan for ignoring a yellow flag. I assume that means he overtook someone under yellows. Penalty given his way by the game stewards. Still yellow flag to sector 2, because I think that's Testomeister retiring from the Grand Prix. Nibbler still looking for a way past. Does Afroman pit? Yes, he does. Ryan's out of the session. Is that another crash or a manual retirement? I can't tell. Ryan is out of the session. Nibbler is right on the limit of Danny Ibn Lahar, pushing to the maximum. Actually has to get off the throttle to find some room. He had that much closing speed. The Australian looks around the outside, goes wide, loses the position to the Renault once again. Meanwhile, pit stops for Sauber, Haas, and McLaren, who gets that front wing changed quicker. Sauber get it done first, then they release the Haas, and the McLaren gets held. A nightmare for Anel Tanovic. A nightmare for Afroman, and a nightmare for just about everyone involved. No safety car deployed. Local yellows will take care of the damage. The racing continues, but very much needed is a safety car for everyone 6th and below. Testomeister leaves the session. I'm sure he'll have a lot to think about before round 5. The battle at the front, though, Renault versus Ferrari, still continues as we head into the final sector once more. Nibbler hasn't been able to get the job done on the run into turn 1. He's just not had the ability, not had the pace, not had the straight line speed to pass that Renault. The Renault's set up for low downforce, giving it top speed, but the Ferrari will try once more, and maybe this time with some DRS it will help him get past. There's the beep of the DRS. Flat wide open, and look at that, he's just not gaining anything at all. There is no gaining whatsoever. Did he not have DRS? Did he not open DRS? The Ferrari didn't gain at all on that lap. Now, that could be the Renault's using his overtake ERS to defend. But Nibbler's running a lot more downforce than the Renault, it seems, as he still struggles to find any closing speed down the straight, so he's going to have to do it in the corners. If Danny can hold it through the corners, he knows he has the straight line speed advantage. It's a good battle we're seeing for first position here. It's possible, Galactic Skull suggests, that Danny used hot lap ERS. Is very possible. We can bring up our data and see which ERS everyone is on. Now, Nibbler has 100% ERS. Nibbler isn't using ERS. Now, is that the defining factor here? You can see the ERS being used. Now a little bit of ERS usage for Nibbler. Nibbler very conservative on these ERS buttons. Now, it's very bizarre that Nibbler's using such little ERS. It's very bizarre. Is he saving it all for a run into turn 1 and then up to turn 4? Now we're seeing some deployment, and it looks like he just saved his ERS all lap to try again. But unfortunately for Nibbler, in saving his ERS the whole lap, Danny just pulled away. And now he finds himself outside the second he needs, and Danny pits. Danny takes the first pit stop of the leaders. Nibbler will have to go for an overcut. And he's going to need that ERS to get him a good in-lap. As Danny pits for soft compound tyres. They released the Renault. Will he come out behind Nemesis Racing? I believe he might. It's going to be close. It's going to be very close. He'd hope to get out in front of Nemesis. How hard will the Italian fight it? He will not. Good call from Danny. Gets out just ahead. But now Nemesis has DRS. And if Nemesis chooses to make this a battle, this will cost Danny time in his battle for the lead. Nemesis up the inside. Heavy on the brakes. Understeers gets the position away from Danny. But Danny can't afford to get held up by this Haas. Through the next corners we go, pushing hard, but this is costing Danny the whole time. Nibbler pushing very hard for his in-lap. The cut off, and this is perfect if you're a Nibbler supporter. Because Danny is still stuck behind his compatriot who is not involved in this fight. But Nemesis took the opportunity to go past. Danny has nowhere to go. Danny's pushing, but he's losing time. 18 seconds the gap is now. Still stuck behind him, and it's getting oh so close. Does Nibbler pit on this lap? That is the question. He should, but will he? No, he does not. Nibbler continues. Interesting. A continuation from Nibbler. A bit of lag going on for Danny Ibn Lahar. Nemesis gets loose, and again it costs Danny because he has to check up. Will Nemesis let Danny pass? Or will Nemesis choose to pit? Nemesis comes into the pit lane. So Nibbler gained about 2.2 seconds from that battle with Nemesis and Danny. Nemesis very much on for a podium. Which is a shame that Anderson got caught up in that because he would have been in prime podium position here. Ragnar moves up into P4 after his early accident. And around they go again. And Altanovic closes in on Lord George significantly. And I think we'll have a battle going up into turn 4. Right on board with Van Altanovic. We enter the second DRS zone of the race. DRS wide open. Down to turn 4 they come. Outside potential for Altanovic. He hits Lord George and a bit of front wing comes off that McLaren. So by underestimating how much he needed, there's definitely some front wing came off the McLaren. Damage Fran Altanovic. How severe is it and how much will it affect him? I'm not sure, but it's definitely going to play into the hands of Lord George with that downforce differential in favour of Van Altanovic, who's still pushing all the while meanwhile. Still going with all his might, but through this sector where you need the downforce and you need the grip, it's just not going to work for him. Pushing hard though, really going for it. But he's losing time, you can see on the timing screen. We can see fragments of front wing up at the top of that corner as well that Kevin Jacobs actually hit and knocked a few of them out. Meanwhile, Nibbler has still not pitted. Continue for another lap. Very interesting strategy for Nibbler. It looks like a comfortable one-stop is in the works for the Australian. He's really trying to secure that one-stop strategy, as is Murcielago. Murcielago yet to pit as well. We were out on board with the Red Bull. Oh! He hit the inside wall, and that made him hit the outside wall. Unfortunately, the game forced us to a less than ideal camera there, but you can just see that could have been so much worse for Murcielago. You know, Nemesis Racing has closed in on his compatriot of Rag's teammates. Battling for 4th position, potentially 3rd position when Murcielago makes his move. And if you're this man in the Salva, you're going to hope these guys battle to the absolute death. No opportunities of opening thus far. He's really trying, but there's just nothing here for Nemesis right now. Nibbler pits. Nibbler finally responds to Danny. Danny's getting 2 seconds back on this lap, so it was time for Nibbler to get off those tyres and get onto some new softs. Now, where is Danny? How close will this be? I'm not quite sure. It will be quite close. It is going to be quite close then. Let's see who gets the run. Here's Danny then around the outside, and there's Nibbler. Just comes out behind him. And we'll begin the pursuit on younger tyres and has DRS to help him get up to speed. Meanwhile, Nemesis has found himself in a battle as one of the Red Bulls of Murcielago pit, so this is now effectively a battle for third position. Nemesis down the inside. Ragnar holds it on the outside though. Ragnar will try to hold it around the outside of turn 2. That's very brave and very bold. Not going to work for him. Brakes, but did he get the DRS from braking, or did Nemesis? Nemesis got the second bite of the cherry then. Nemesis gets the second bite of DRS, and Ragnar's going to have to do it the hard way and just look at the DRS difference. But late brake on the Toro Rosso will almost scare Nemesis into the wall. Not on this occasion. Ragnar loses the position to the Hasp, and right now, but will try with all his might to keep within range and sense an opportunity right on board with the Toro Rosso. No signs of desperation to go down the inside from an awful long way back there. Oh, but that's a mistake. And such a small error had such a big consequence. And Douglas Anderson does not want to get caught up in an accident like that, like he had with Testameister. Lord George heavy on the brakes as well to avoid that. Such a small error from Ragnar caused such a big impact. He just went around, hit the wall, lost a bit of front wing. And it's a nightmare. Now, Dougie Afroman will be the only man to challenge Nemesis Racing at this stage for that podium. Ragnar might have to make a second pit stop. We'll be able to see through riding on board through this sector just how bad that damage is. Can he take this corner flat? He can't, so I suspect Ragnar will pit. As you can see, the time he loses to Anel Tanovic already is just huge. And another pit stop coming up for Ragnar. He'll be furious. That's not gone his way whatsoever. An absolute nightmare for the Italian. And he just does not have the pace with that little front wing. Unfortunate for the Italian. Not a lot of luck, and you can just see how slow he has to go through the Porsche curves. He has to pit. If this man this season didn't have bad luck, he wouldn't have any at all. There's the second pit stop for the Toro Rosso. Will rule him out of that podium contention today. Meanwhile, Nibbler has stayed within about a second to Danny Ibn Laha. Man, actually, like it's a net game because Kevin Jacobs is pitting again. And that is a front wing change. So Kevin Jacobs has lost his front wing somewhere on this lap. They'll release him from the box in due time. Meanwhile, Nibbler has found half a second on Danny Ibn Laha. Really closing in is the Australian on the Italian. Really pushing forward. Through sector 3 we come. Nibbler is right with is the closest he's been since the pit stops. Will he be able to get all the overtake? We can see his ERS. That little blue bar on the bottom right of your screen will show you how much he's using. He's using all of it. How much is Danny using? He's using all of it as well. But DRS comes into favour with a bit of slipstream. Nibbler pulls out very early. Danny goes super defensive and the two make contact. But no damage thus far. Nibbler on the inside. Danny on the outside tries to hold it. Not happening for him. Job done for Nibbler. He takes the lead on lap 11. But now, surely Danny is going to get the second bite of the cherry with that DRS. Now it's role reversal. Can Nibbler hold off? We know Danny's a little bit faster in the straight line. Nibbler goes ultra defensive as soon as he can. And now Danny looks to the outside. Doesn't have the top speed to do it though. He's used too much ERS too early. Nibbler's still got plenty in reserve and Danny will have to fall back and recharge if he wants another run into turn 1. Through the middle sector we go then. In a role reversal, Nibbler has the younger tyres and more ERS. It's advantage Nibbler right now. It's advantage Australian. Can the Italian stop him from taking another victory this season? It'll be tough for the little yellow Renault if he can do it, but still a long way to go in this race. Never say never. And here you can see that these two are on soft tyres. Now this is interesting, because these two are on softs, and a lot of the guys behind them are on super softs. Now, is a one-stop still on the cards, or is there a two-stop coming up for a lot of these drivers? It's very hard to tell. But the different taste of tyre for pretty much everybody on this track. You see the youngest guy tracked on tyre are Nibblers, 2 laps old. You can see that's the same with Nemesis, 4 laps old, 2 laps old for Metrilago, and then the other two that have ruled themselves out of the race, being Ragnar and Kevin Jacobs. Danny's close though, but he's got no ERS. He's used too much too early once again. You can see Nimbler still has 35%, comparing that to the 10% of Danny. He needs to recharge. He needs to take a little bit of pain through the inside of the lap to be able to attack through the other stages, but right now, not happening for him. Needs to charge up. Needs to accept that he needs to relax a little bit, gain some battery pack, put the ERS in a low consumption level, because this is what Nibbler's doing. You can see he's gaining ERS. He's not using it through the middle sector, and he gains it and uses it all in defense mode down the back straight, and that is what Danny needs to do, because Nibbler's not going to pull away. Did Nibbler just hit the castle section there? I think he did. I think he grazed it. I'm going to watch the screen back and clarify. It was very close. If he didn't hit it, it was super close for the Australian. But this time, Danny's got a little bit more, but Nibbler's still got almost double the ERS of Danny. And that could be the saving grace once again down the back straight. Now, Danny just needs to not use it all in one burst. He needs to collectively gain it so he can match the ERS levels of Nibbler. But he's using it so quickly. We're already below 10%. And Nibbler's not even below 30%. And he runs out. And that will stop him from gaining any further. And now he will have nothing but a run up to turn 4. I'm sorry, up to turn 3. We break into turn 2 now. And now we begin to run up to turn 4. You can see 11%. We have nothing left. We have less than 10%. And Nibbler's still got tons that he can use to defend with. ERS management is winning Nibbler this race so far. It's a good result for Lord Jodd to be up in P5 right now. Good result for the Mercedes. Wow. Very aggressive on the gears. I think that's a sound bug on the Renault. I don't believe for a second he's actually doing that to the gears. So sound bug on the Renault. Oh my goodness, that sounds horrible. But once again, Nibbler has almost 3 times the amount of ERS that Danny has. And that's what's winning in the race at the moment. Because it's okay for Danny to close in when he does, but without the ERS, he doesn't have the grip. Yeah, the Renault sounds awful, as the chat is pointing out right now. The audio has very much glitched, and it sounds very like a bag of nails. But here we go again. Nibbler has 50% ERS that he can use. And you can see he has none. No ERS for Danny by the time we get to turn 1. Oh, and then he gets a big swamp of oversteer out of the first corner to go with it. Luckily, the sound glitch has fixed itself. ERS management will keep Nibbler in front until Danny realizes what is going on. Now, Danny goes very wide there to start off, but Danny using ERS through the middle sector is what's keeping him with Nibbler. Little does he realize that Nibbler is actually using the middle sector to build his ERS up for the defense down the straight should he need it. Danny needs to do the same if he's going to win this race. 15 people are now watching. Welcome along, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching. This is, oh, that is some lag if I ever saw it. But this is round number 4 of the Nemesis Online Racing League F1 2018 Championship. Nibbler wins after starting Nibbler wins. Nibbler is winning after starting P2 on the grid. And it is very much a case of who can manage their battery power better. And right now, Nibbler is hands over fist managing better than Danny. Danny just does not have the ERS to attack when he needs it. And therefore, Nibbler can comfortably stay ahead. We had a big crash on lap 1. We've had some crashes going on since then that have spread the grid up amid some interesting results, with Nemesis Racing being the big gainer up in P3. We had Ragnar crash early on lap 1. We had Testermeister have a huge accident and collect up the likes of Douglas Anderson and cause some real damage at the start of the race, effectively ruling Afroman out of the podium contention, being 7.57 seconds back behind. Nemesis kind of confirms that at this stage in the race. There's still a long way to go. As Galactic Skull 2 in the chat says, he's surprised that there is no safety car. There's a long way to go, but of course we only started with 11 cars today, so the percentage of incidents I think that we gained as a result of that went way down as well. So Afroman pits then. And is this for damage, or is it for the two-stop strategy? Is Afroman the first of the two stoppers to bite and go into pit lane? Let's see what they take on here at Sauber. Looks like it's a regular stop for more super soft tyres, no front wing change, so that means there's no damage. Dougie Afroman is the first people to begin that two-stop strategy, and he'll have to make 11 laps on these super softs. We'll be able to get the tyres up and find out what laps they're doing. No one's gone 11 laps yet, so this is an early undercut from Anderson. So we'll have to see what he can do, but it is an early undercut for sure. We'll see if anyone around him reacts to that, especially this man in P3. So Nibbler now comfortably leads. He's stretching his legs. Danny conserves some more ERS, but is just dropping off the Ferrari, struggling to hang with him. A little lag to complement him through the opening sector. Two seconds is a gap to the leader, and then we have a massive 32-second gap down to third. And the field is pretty spread out at this stage in the race. But we believe that this man, Afroman, did make the first bite onto the two-star, so we could be seeing some pit stops spice up the race very soon. But no one bites on this lap. But Lord Jod does. We have yellow flags in sector 3 though. What could that be for? I'm not sure, but same sound glitch effect. Lord Jod, who comes into the pit lane then. And is there anyone there to service him? Okay, we are having some very interesting scenes today. The game is very much losing itself, but Lord Jod responds to Dougie Afroman and he undercuts him quite comfortably. Lord Jod gets a 5-second stop-go penalty for crossing the white line on the pin exit. Unfortunate for him, I'm sure, but that's the penalty, and you know the rules there. Fortunate for him, he finds himself with that penalty to boot. It's 2.5 is the gap. Now is Danny pitting. Danny's pitting for his second stop of the Grand Prix. Albeit he's doing it very laggy, but he is pitting and attempting to undercut Nibbler. Now Nibbler goes very long on these stints, and I'm just going to assume he's going to do the same again. And he won't want to leave it too long because he won't want to maximize what he can do. Now Danny's going to comfortably come out in second. He's going to be all alone with as much free air as he could ever dream of. Now Nemesis Racing pits on lap 17. Now the closest man to him was Afroman. I doubt Afroman will gain 7.5 seconds on him, but he might gain some. It's taking him a further 2 laps to respond, so he'll have 2 laps younger tyres. Anatanovic does not respond Will Murcielago? No, he will not. And there's Afroman just on the pit straight now. As okay. Nemesis looks like he didn't make the pit exit. It looks like he went over onto the track. And I'm very surprised that Nemesis did not get a penalty for that. That is crossing the white line, well and truly. And Nemesis has got away with that one. And I think he's just used up all his get out of jail free cards for the season. Because I would have thought that would have been a slam dunk penalty. That's pretty surprising. But Nibbler, will he pit straight away or will he continue? And it looks like he's going to continue. Danny will have to push. Meanwhile, Anel Tanovic finds himself up in a podium position because he's yet to pit for the second time. And he has a very feisty Italian behind him. Searching for a way by. Very different lines going through that sector. As the Haas closes down the McLaren. Looking for a way by. No way by thus far. Final sector. Nemesis Racing begins his push. Begins his challenge. And this is where he'll have the opportunity, DRS, I'm sure. And Rich Revs and a bit of ERS to go with it. What does Anna have to defend with? He has ERS, but not a lot of it. Will he pit? No, he will not. So this is going to have to be done the hard way from Nemesis Racing. It looks to the outside now. Dummies to the inside. Breaks very late. Good move from the Italian if he can hold it. Anel Tanovic gets a better run. But Nemesis Racing completes the move. But now Anel Tanovic will get the turn of DRS. Role reversal. If he can defend it into turn 3, then the position is all his. And you kind of feel that is the scenario on the brand new Super Sauce compared to Anel Tanovic's old sauce. But Anel, very late on the brakes, finds himself on the outside, now to the inside, absolutely millimeters involved there, now on the inside. Great fight back from Anel Tanovic, not giving up the fight against Nemesis Racing easily. Nemesis does eventually take the position, but what a fight back from Anel Tanovic. Anel Tanovic really put it all on the line there, was prepared to go into the wall to keep that podium, fighting a losing battle. What a crazy battle. Good effort, good driving for both of them. And now Nemesis should drive away with a fresh Supersoft tyres. Danny Ibn Lahar sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix in pursuit of Nibbler. Now will Nibbler use that as an indicator to pit? We'll have to see. But Anel is really trying to close back in on Nemesis Racing. 7/10 of a second now extends to a second. Very much looks like Nemesis has gone for a walk, gone for a stroll away from Nibbler as we ride on board with the man chasing down Nibbler with all the might he has. Let's just listen how effortless and how much he's putting into this car to try catch the man in P1. He's so aggressive on the throttle and the ERS. He goes up the gear so quickly, which shows you ERS is very much on full beans mode right now. And we'll have to see if this man pits this lap, or if he even tries to go to the end. Because I think either strategy right now is viable for Nibbler. I think he can go to the end, and I think he can pit again and challenge from there. Danny is faster, obviously, right now. But Nibbler has a big gap, and with only 7 laps to go, Danny's going to have to really up the pace if he wants to catch on Barcelona as Nibbler stays out for another lap. If Nibbler doesn't pit this lap, I feel as if he will be going to the end. It's very tricky to predict, obviously, but I think 6 laps is a good prime time to get in and put on some fresh supers to the end of the race. Murcielago's been closed down by Afroman. Yet to pit, of course, Murcielago. For the second time. We will bring up the stops of this race. Murcielago, of course, and Altanovic and Nibbler all one stop. Everyone else two stop right now. We presume everyone's going to go for a two stop. If not, they are trying to go to the end, and it will have to be done on track with pace advantage if they want this victory over their two stop rivals. Dougie Aframan is closing on Murcielago with a huge rate of knots right about now. So he's really pushing for it, really going for it. Sensing any opportunity he can. Murcielago really losing time to these fresh, super soft tyres. Murcielagos are well past their use-by date at this stage in the race, and Anderson should be able to push as hard as he wants. P6 and P5 is the reward if Dougie Aframan wasn't caught up in that unfortunate incident with Testameister. He could have been where Nemesis was right now. It was very unfortunate once again. But a Scotsman in the Sauber. Losing a bit of time for the middle sector though. Murcielago finds a bit of pace through the middle sector. Danny Ibn Lahar sets another fastest lap. Really giving it everything he's got. But still no bite from Nibbler. Still no pit stop from Nibbler. Dougie Aframan closing into about at 1.2, but that's as close as he's gotten so far. He gets to 1.2 and then seems to drop back a little in the Sauber, so that's really preventing his progress. Now, my theory is that Nibbler is going to the end on this one-stop strategy. Now, Danny's just not gaining enough unless Nibbler's tyres drastically go off the cliff in a few laps. I don't think Danny is gaining enough to catch Nibbler on pace alone at the moment. Really going for it. But really tough for Dougie to close in. Doesn't have DRS, so that's not helping him on the straights. And it seems to be the straights that is losing the majority of his time. Now, it's a similar case to Nibbler and Danny, where Murcielago just has a lot more ERS to help him defend and manage this gap. So Aframan has 30%, whereas Murcielago has 51%. He has a little bit more in reserve, and the tyre deficit is quite big. Dougie Aframan's a half, like 50% younger than Murcielago's with 6 laps compared to his 12. But Murcielago's tyres just are not letting go. They're holding on for dear life as Anderson makes a mistake. Hjalmar Kippel says hello. Welcome along. Hope you're enjoying the racing here in Azerbaijan. It's a bit of a dull race as the battle for the lead kind of dissipated. Murcielago is closing in on Altanovic, surprisingly, pulling away from Aframan though. So no pit stops coming, we think, from the end of the race to the end of the race, sorry. I don't think we're going to see any more pit stops. I think everyone who hasn't stopped isn't planning to stop for the rest of the Grand Prix. And this man is trying the one stop. He's got a 15-second buffer in case it doesn't work out. The 13-lap-old softs. We've got 18-lap-old softs out there in the form of An Altanovic, and his tyres are nowhere near going. They're starting to go now. Murcielago's closing in, but in terms of Nibbler, Nibbler still hasn't got... Nibbler could do this. Nibbler could easily do this because An Altanovic's tyres are so much older and he still hasn't got. Meanwhile, compare that to Kevin Jacobs, who's just completed his 3rd stop of the race. Nibbler's still going strong on these tyres. A one-stop strategy was the play today because An Altanovic has already completed 5 more laps than Nibbler and his tyres are fine. So Nibbler commanding the race weekend on a one-stop strategy. Murcielago tries to close in for fourth. Aframan has dropped off the back of Murcielago to outside of 2 seconds now. Could look like the Scottish Sauber's challenge has ended. But Murcielago almost within a second of Anel Tanovic, so we could see a Red Bull versus McLaren for fourth on the grid. They're trying. 1.5, loses time down the straight, a lot of time. Almost as if Anel emptied almost all of his ERS to give himself another half a second down that straight. Big speed difference down that straight. 4 attempts in Anel's favour. Closing in. Through the middle sector, the Red Bull is very strong. And that is sentenced to Anel's tyres being very old and very worn and almost effectively done, cooked, you know, burnt, ready to get out the oven. But down the straight, Anel is saving his ERS for a monster of a defensive run down the straight into turn 1. And that's really working out for him at the moment as we come through the castle section with the Red Bull. Closing in, closer than he's been in a long time. Right up the gearbox of the Papaya orange McLaren. 3 tenths of a second is the gap coming into the... Oh, contact, and Anel hits the wall. How much damage was there? How much damage was involved in that? But Murcielago misjudged the braking and hit Anel Tanovic. Now, I don't know what damage was done to anybody, but it was definitely contact, and I'm sure if there is damage, it will definitely be looked at by the stewards, but it's all starting to unfold, and it's a good seat in the house for the white and red Sauber if it does go any more wrong than this. Now, both of them are on similar ERS levels. This is all about slipstream and DRS here. Nothing more, nothing less. So Murcielago's got to do it the hard way. We have yellow flags in sector 3 because Ragnar has retired from the session, in which I can only assume is a crash. We'll see if we can spot that crash riding on board with Kevin Jacobs. Now, was it in the same place that he made the mistake on lap 1? And it looks like it was, yes. So he's made the same mistake twice. And Ragnar is out of the Grand Prix. We have yellow flags in sector 1 as well. Have we missed something else going off? We have. Murcielago goes off as well. Hands in position to Gavraman, and then Lord George follows him and makes an exact same mistake. It's all going off here in the final 2 laps of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Can Dougie Aframan gain 2.3 seconds on Anel Tanovic in 2 laps? You'd think so, judging by the tyres. 20-lap-old tyres for Anel Tanovic. What an absolute stellar drive he has done on those tyres to still be up in P4. But the pressure's starting to get to everybody in the final 2 laps. 3 cars make a mistake in 1 lap. Ragnar DNFs. Lord George has a spin, and Murcielago just looked like he went way too deep and couldn't stop as he tried to gain on Anel Tanovic. This man will be the next man to test the mettle of Anel if he can get close enough. It's an ask, but we've almost 10 laps younger, 11 lap younger tyres and a softer compound for Dougie Aframan. It's advantage Dougie, but you got to remember that these super softs don't last 20 laps because they barely last 10 laps. So Dougie's reached the end of life on these super softs, whereas Anel's very much reached the end of his life on his softs. So these guys are both driving on, given their compounds, they're both driving on completely dead tyres. Albeit Murcielago made his last 16 laps. They are pretty much dead, but it is Nibbler commanding this race. Begins his final lap of the Grand Prix. Dougie Aframan closes in a second over the course of this lap. Is now right with Anel Tanovic, closing in all the more through the corners especially. Now, ERS charge is very much in Anel Tanovic's favour. He's used Murcielago making that mistake as a opportunity to save up some ERS for the defence against the Scotsman. The battle comes through the castle section. The battle for fourth is on. 21 lap old soft tyres versus 10 lap old super softs. Advantage Afroman. Game on, the cards are down. Which way will the roulette table spin, and which number will the ball land on? Will it land on number 12, Dougie Afroman? Or will it land on number 19 for McLaren? We're about to find out. Here we go. 3/10 of a second advantage, Dougie. Dougie has 60% KERS. Now, Anel Tanovic has bolted and used all his ERS as quick as he can. Dougie now shifts his into action, tries to line up the slipstream and use DRS to go along with that. I think Dougie was a bit late in turning his ERS on and just lost the opportunity going into turn 1. Now he'll reset and get ready. Turn 2, he has about 10% more than Anel Tanovic, but he's got to be closer than that if he wants to make the move in this final lap. This could be potentially his second to last opportunity. He'll only have one more, which is the run to the line after this if he can't make it work for him. Meanwhile, a whole lap ahead of him, Nibbler takes a win with a fantastic one-stop strategy ahead of Danny Ibn Lahar. Nemesis Racing will hold on for a well-deserved podium. Meanwhile, Dougie Afroman is still challenging Anel Tanovic for that fourth place. Super close. Yellow flags in sector 3. Not sure why. Is that Danny Ibn Lahar? Ran out of fuel across the line. That's awkward. Anel's squirming. Anderson looking for a chance here. Saved up a lot of ERS for this final assault. He's got about 20% more than Anel Tanovic. It's going to be close. They're both super low on fuel as well. They've got to bear that in mind. They're both very low on fuel. The run to the line is on. Both make it through there very cleanly indeed. Anderson looks for the inside line. Now, will he go inside? No, he will not. He breaks back to the racing line. Anel Tanovic goes a little bit wide. Dougie Afroman gets the better exit and will have to remember to turn his ERS on this time around if he wants a chance at that podium. Goes wide. Hits the wall. Hits the other wall. He's out. Dougie Afroman is out on the final corner of the final lap. Afroman is out. Murcielago will inherit P5 from that. Lord George will inherit P6, and Kevin Jacobs, getting caught up with the race-winning Ferrari, will inherit P7. Anderson out on the final corner of the final lap. What an absolute drastic ending to this race for the Sauber team. It has all gone wrong. Game over for Afroman. Meanwhile, Nibbler for Ferrari takes a comfortable win then ahead of Danny Ibn Lahar. Nemesis Racing taking a podium position. And it's the Australian who reigns supreme again. And Dougie Afroman very much bottles it. Nibbler wins once again, then reigns supreme in the Ferrari with an excellent one-stop strategy to win ahead of Danny Ibn Lahar. Lord George picks up a penalty across the end of that race. Danny Ibn Lahar comes home in P2. P3 for Nemesis Racing. P4 for Anel Tanovic, held off all who challenged him. Amazing race on that one-stop strategy for Anel. Murcielago inherits P5, as does Lord George, but luckily Kevin Jacobs was a lap down, which saves Dougie Afroman, and Dougie Afroman keeps P7. So he does walk away with some points today. But what an absolutely fascinating end to this Grand Prix. Thank you ever so much for watching. Remember to join us on Wednesdays for the Nemesis Online Racing FIA GT3 Series. And until then, we will see you next time for either Wednesday's FIA GT3 Series Round 5 or Round number 5 of the Nemesis Online Racing F1 Championship. We'll see you then on next Sunday. Be there or be square. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Goodbye.